What's good, everybody? And you are now watching The Whole Week, a new weekly show that I'm doing, recapping all the news that I would like to talk about throughout the week, but I just don't have time, so we recap it here on the weekends. This is going to be episode 1, covering March 28th to April 3rd. Now let's get to the topics. First thing that I wanted to talk about, which happened earlier this week, was the announcement of the Star Wars cast for the show Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now listen, I am a Star Wars fan. We know this. I do the Mandalorian videos. My actual first movie review that I posted on my channel was of The Rise of Skywalker, and I gave that thing a relatively positive review. But we have a new show coming out, and we saw the cast, and I wanted to just talk and give my thoughts about that cast, and get some comments from people and see who are you most excited about to see, because that's the main thing that I want to know from people. Who are you most excited about seeing in this new Star Wars cast? But let's just look at it and run through it, right? So, pulling up the image of the cast. Nice pictures, nice presentation of the image. But we got Ewan McGregor starring. We got Hayden Christensen, Moses Ingram, which I heard a lot of chatter about her throughout the week when people talked about this. And they mentioned how hot of a star she was and how good of an actress she was. And I had to say, like, I don't remember seeing her in anything. It was kind of funny, but then also kind of a big deal that they got Joel Edgerton back. I don't want to mess up Kumali's name. I'm going to leave it at that. Kumali. That's a face I recognize, seeing him being in the Marvel stuff, and now he's in another Disney property. I found that was like pretty cool to see him pop up in there. But if we're being honest, the name that I'm most excited about, the face that I'm most excited about seeing, has to be O'Shea Jackson Jr. To those who don't know, this is Ice Cube's son. The dude does good solid work, man. I remember seeing him in Den of Thieves. He did a real good job in there because I did not catch that he was the guy throughout the whole movie. Real good actor in O'Shea Jackson Jr. And that leads me to the big point I want to make about it. It's like, I like seeing this cast because of the diversity in the cast. Like, my hope is that Moses Ingram is not in any kind of makeup and made to look a certain way, like an alien, like full of prosthetics. No, let us see her blackface. Kumani, of Indian descent, let us see him. O'Shea Jackson Jr., even Sung Kang, who is from the Fast and Furious franchise. I want to see all these people with normal faces. And the reason is I like diversity in my Star Wars films. I know The Last Jedi gets maligned quite a bit because of Finn and Rose and their storyline, and people interpreted that as hate towards multiracial characters in Star Wars. I don't know about that being a thing. I do agree that their storyline in The Last Jedi was garbage. It was the most useless thing in the movie, and I wish it could have just been cut out and we'd have got more of anything else. That being said, though, I jumped on the Star Wars franchise when I saw Finn pop up in the very first trailer for the new trilogy. Like, oh, a black stormtrooper. Oh, possibly a black main character in Star Wars. That's interesting. Why do I feel this way? Why do I care at all about diversity in Star Wars? It's because of the idea of a galaxy, right? So this is set in the stars, where all kinds of things is happening, and we hopping from planet to planet, but we only following a handful of white people. Like, I just don't get that. I never did feel that all the way. So I feel like it's better that we do this with a diverse cast and, keep things different and new. I don't like things to be, bland white in a big, huge galaxy. Like, give us all kinds of things. I was thinking to myself earlier that, there should be a whole planet of like British accents, a whole planet of African accents, just because why not, man? It's the space. We can do whatever we want. So why do the same thing over and over again? That's why I like the diversity of this cast, and I really, O'Shea Jackson Jr. stands out the most to me. And I want to see, if he's on screen and he gets to keep his tough persona, or if they spin him and have him do something totally different. I'm very excited to see Obi-Wan Kenobi and see how this cast kind of gets presented to us on the screen. Let's go back. What else are we talking about here? So yeah, let us know, send an email, drop a comment, do something to let us know what was your most favorite casting choice done here in this show. Now, when I look at the Star Wars cast, and I talk about the diversity and I talk about The Last Jedi, like that was a movie that fans hated a whole bunch. And I've heard a lot of talk about the Snyder fans being being a toxic fan base and being that same toxic fan base that hated The Last Jedi. I don't remember exactly where I read that from, but them trying to lump in like the toxic fandom of Zack Snyder and the toxic reaction of The Last Jedi, it just kind of all got swirling around in different little Twitter feeds that I followed and different things that I saw, and it got me thinking like this would be a good point to mention that and then use that to segue into my next topic. Second big thing of the week, on April Fool's Day we got news that The New Gods and The Trench by Ava DuVernay and James Wan both got canceled. And I was like, man, this is a big blow. But then also, man, if they're doing Restore the Snyderverse, I don't care. I'm happy about it. I'm one of those people, may not fit the mold that the media might try to paint, but I'm one of those people who I really enjoyed Zack Snyder's vision for the Justice League and his vision of Man of Steel. Thought Man of Steel was a masterpiece. I still think that this version of Justice League is way better than the Joss Whedon version that we got, and it leads me to believe that if they are indeed canceling Ava DuVernay and James Wan's films in favor of bringing back in favor of bringing back Zack Snyder and pursuing a restored version of the Snyderverse, I would indeed be happy. I never had faith in the New Gods. Not Ava DuVernay. I think she's very capable. I think she's smart enough to know that, hey, I need to get some good writing done here. I need to have a top-notch script, and the plot needs to be laid out very well. My presentation needs to be top-notch. I think she would have presented us with a great body of work. But the New Gods as a project, I just didn't, I never believed in it. Kind of the same way I feel about Marvel's Eternals. Like, I just don't know enough about them from the comics to say, yes, give me more of that. Give me more of that. I can't say that about the New Gods. Now, the Trench, that was one of the cooler things from the Aquaman movie. And seeing the Trench not get made is kind of like heartbreaking. I kind of wish that it would have got further along in development. Maybe even we got some concept art and stuff like that. But I'm not mad to see it go. I'm kind of relieved about New Gods going. The Trench, kind of wish we could have got to see what we would get. But again, if it's all going in favor of these flip-floppy Warner Brothers executives choosing to do the Snyderverse and saying, hey, we got enough buzz around what you did. Let's now backtrack a third or fourth time and include you again and let you put out your next two movies. Who knows if that's going to happen or not? That's purely conjecture on my part. But I would really, really be happy if they did that, because his storyboards were amazing. Things that you would have never imagined seeing on the screen, we could potentially see if they actually went forward with his vision. But who knows where that's going to go? I don't know. But that story is what it is as far as those two movies being canceled. But moving on from the cancellation of a few potential Warner Brothers films, we need to now move into a new topic of the trailers of the week. We had about 5 trailers that dropped this week. I didn't actually see them all, or I didn't do trailer reactions for everything, but I want to say we did Rick and Morty, we saw Suicide Squad, we saw Spiral, we saw The Wrath of Man, and we saw Space Jam 2 on Saturday. So quite a few trailers this week. And when I look at that body of work when it comes to trailers, it's very difficult to pick a winner as far as like best trailer of the week. I will say of those trailers and the announcements behind them, I have to say my favorite would be Rick and Morty, because we have a definitive date that we know we're getting a new season June 20th. Great job, happy about it. Best trailer overall would probably have to be the Suicide Squad trailers that came out. They have the green band and a red band. I did a trailer reaction for the red band trailer. I thought the green band trailer was actually better, but really good stuff that we got from both Suicide Squad trailers, both giving off a crazy energy and a crazy vibe with a film. The Wrath of Man, I feel like, was probably the most solid because it's Jason Statham doing action. You can't really go wrong with that. So much so that a friend of mine, Jarius King, huge shout out to Jarius King and all the music that he's doing, has a single called Malcolm X that's out right now. I enjoy it. It's in a playlist of mine. But Jarius is a Facebook friend of mine, former student, and he had posted that you can watch any Jason Statham movie. He doesn't even know Jason Statham's name. But if you see that face, it's a movie that you can watch because you know that there's bodies that are going to drop. And as we saw in the Wrath of Man trailer, that is very true. Very consistent across his career. He's an action guy. He does it very well. Space Jam 2 had to be the worst. Spiral was kind of, I'm a little iffy on it because Chris Rock being serious is weird. But I must say, Space Jam 2 was horrible reaction. I wanted to actually turn the trailer off. If you watch my reaction for it, as I'm going through it, I'm like, man, like I have a reaction kind of like that. And that was because I want to say, man, get this off my damn screen. I don't want to see it no more. I didn't like the trailer. I don't think the movie's going to be good. I don't know why Hollywood continues to just throw out remakes every 20, 30 years of something we saw 20, 30 years ago and think, we're going to make all that money again. No, sir. You are not going to make that money again. Not up in here. I don't see it happening. But if I had to pick a best trailer of the week, it would probably be the Suicide Squad trailers. Moving on from the trailers that we got this week into the thing that kind of blew up biggest in my own personal inbox would have to be the show Invincible. Now, I'm really winging it here because I have not seen one frame of Invincible yet, but I have several producers of my YouTube page. Producers are anyone who either finds a way to get me exclusive content by screeners or digital screeners or things like that, or they give me ideas for things that I should be covering because either they're really good or a lot of people are talking about them right now. And Invincible came from at least 3 different of my producers. It was all over the Twitter feeds at the end of last week going into that weekend, and it's gotten even bigger. I actually went by a friend's house when we sat down and watched Kong and Godzilla, which I'll be talking about in a bit. But I went by a friend's house, and before watching Kong and Godzilla, he said, have you seen Invincible? I said, man, I've heard about it from at least 3 people. He says, well, check this out. And he showed me a fight scene. Now, I knew Invincible was made by Robert Kirkman, like created, because I followed his career earlier when I was really into The Walking Dead. But I did not know that Invincible was going to be a basically rated R show. And I was blown away by the fight scene of basically Omni-Man taking down his original crew. And he took them down. It was rough. And I said, I have to watch this now. I was planning on it. I was going to get to it. But now it demands all my attention. So Invincible, I'm not going to do episode breakdowns or episode, spoiler chats where I just come back and talk about the best things from the episode. It's not what I'm doing. I'll just watch the whole series and then give you kind of a series review and talk with people about what we liked most about the series. But I still have no idea of what I'm watching. So I'm looking forward to seeing how rough this thing gets. And I'm up for some anime, some animated violence. So Invincible, I'm coming to check it out in a bit. Moving on to the last point, which is the big release of Kong versus Godzilla. I have to say, that movie was very, very meh to me. And I'm being real. I hate to come through and be so dismissive of something that a lot of people are enjoying right now. And maybe it's because I didn't go to a theater. Maybe it's because the energy in the room as I watched it, we started kind of late, so people started dozing off. A few people left. It was getting late. But it did not feel as big as it was built up to be. I feel like Kong was kind of like a bum, is how me and another guy described him. Just a bum in this one. We expected much bigger things out of Kong. I was actually, maybe my review is going to be, or my perspective on the movie is a little bit down, because I'm a Team Kong guy. Like, in my mind, you got Godzilla with these little T-Rex arms out here trying to do something, and Kong is a fully formed Godzilla, like, sized gorilla. Like, he can swing, and he can jump and flip, and like, he can do all the things. You would imagine he's going to put them hands on Godzilla. And he did a few times, but more often than not, he got washed. And I was kind of like, you are not as fearsome as you appear to be in your own film. And that's just the fan in me. But as a critic in me, just watching the movie, like, I'm so not interested in the humans still. I still feel like, and I may lose some people here, but I still feel like Kong Skull Island was the best of all these monster movies. They didn't know what to do with the people in the first Godzilla. Godzilla King of the Monsters had people just doing the stupidest stuff, like creating PowerPoints for taking over the world and showing it. It's like the worst exposition scenes that I've ever seen. But the humans in Kong versus Godzilla were also quite useless to me. Team Godzilla, Millie Bobby Brown and her crew, quite awful. I didn't like much of what they did on the screen. The other guys that were in support of Kong and like traveling to the Hollow Earth and doing the Hollow Earth thing, that was cool. I actually feel like the Hollow Earth parts disoriented me a bit, because they had Earth above them and beneath his feet. I found that to be strange. Like, I was looking at, like, what am I seeing? It felt awkward. Like, he jumped and then landed, and then that was up, and I was like, what? It kind of messed with me. I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed. The bad guy and their whole motive, unimpressive. I'm so glad that they killed the bad guy's daughter, though. Just crushed her. It was great stuff to see. I didn't like her. She was a very not likable character. By design, she did a great job. But I just didn't feel like that movie was as good as it was hyped up to be. Fun to put on and, you know, just have on in the background, check out the action scenes. But to say, like, yes, I'll sit down and watch this whole thing again, can't do it. It's not rewatchable to me. Not the whole thing. You could put it on and, you know, go clean the house, and then when something happened, you could, like, stop and like, oh, I liked that part. But for the most part, no, I didn't like much of Kong versus Godzilla. Kong versus Godzilla to me is one of those ones that's like built up and you have hopes and you watch it and it's like, I guess. That's my overall thoughts for that. Winner of the week. So also what I'm doing here, what I'll be doing here is something called Winner of the Week. So with Winner of the Week, I go over who had the biggest splash this week, who put out the topic or the story, or who created the most buzz that got people talking throughout the week. And while this probably wasn't something that happened this week, I still feel like this topic dominated the week. And it's not something that we normally talk about on the channel because we don't do music. But Lil Nas X and the Saint Shoes, like, that stuff is still pretty much dominating the week and the discussion. I went into last weekend just hearing about it, and then throughout the week I had to have multiple conversations and I read multiple posts from different people addressing it, talking about it. And I feel like if you live under a rock, then you don't know. But my wife, I like to use my wife as the general audience because she doesn't tend to pay attention to things, right? And she heard about this probably like last Sunday, and she hit me up like, baby, what is this? What is they talking about here? And we went through it, and I went through and explained, first of all, who is Nas X? Like, she didn't even really know. I said, the Old Town Road dude, remember that? She's like, yeah, I remember that song. Never really heard the whole thing, but I remember the song. I was like, yeah, same. And went through and described everything that occurred, and she was like, wow. I guess. Like, she didn't really have too much of an opinion on it. I don't have too much of an opinion on it here, but why am I crowning him winner of the week? Because marketing wise, not talking about the existence of a Satan shoe or the video that he did or anything about him. Just the idea that he did what he did, marketing wise, is probably the biggest and best marketing move he could have made, because that'll have people talking about him for months to come. And even though the news of that, all that stuff may not have dropped this week, it's still in my feeds and the things that I look at, still dominated everything up until probably Kong and Godzilla came out. It was a big deal. So I would say he won the week for that reason. My only personal commentary on Nas X and the Satan shoe would be that, you know, in showbiz they say any press is good press. Well, in the real world, we all know that all press is not good press and all money is not good money. So you might have got a buzz, but was it worth it? Is kind of my comment. And that's really all I have to say as far as he goes. And that's actually all I have to say as far as the show goes. This is going to be the first episode of the whole week, wrapped up, put into a bundle. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click one of the playlists, watch a couple of videos, get yourself familiar with my work if you want to. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, come back and see your boy for more videos.